Good morning, and welcome to the Black Mesa Transit.
Are you guys feeling a little nostalgic? If so, join me as I take my first look into 1998's Half-Life. Up to this point in history, FPS games were fast-paced, run and gun with little to no storyline. Valve switched the focus and put story at the forefront of Half-Life. The intro is something that I've never quite experienced. A lot of games I've played have some sort of exposition or cutscene to introduce the storyline. Instead, we get a 5-minute long tram ride in silence, with bits of text that pop up to lay out the story. At first, I thought I might lose interest, but feels like Valve took the opportunity to do a little bit of showing off, and at the same time, some storytelling. You get the time to really take in the environment and some of the things this game has to offer. You also get to see some of the NPCs going about their daily business, ripping around on forklifts. You've got a couple of automated robots and they look really good, but you don't really get to see any more of this in the game. You do get to see some really janky shit happen though, but we'll get to that as it comes up. It's gonna seem like I'm pouting about a lot of things in this video, but the truth is, a lot of this goofy shit that I'm gonna talk about are the reasons why I love playing through Half-Life. It added a lot of character to this game. This version I'm playing on has an option for HD models, and I turned it off at one point just to see what it looked like, and Jesus, that mustache looks like something out of a Neil Breen movie. So the HD models are staying on for this playthrough. Starting out in the Black Mesa facility is framed as if it's just any other day. You can wander around and interact with the scientists and some of the environmental objects.
My God, what are you doing?
And when you're ready, head into the locker room and grab your HEV suit. This automated voice gives you a bit of a rundown on the suit while you get to listen to this tasty jam. I still don't understand what the power level of the suit means. Anyway, it's off to help out with some experiment. And these fucking nerds start talking like I know what's going on.
We've boosted the anti-mass spectrometer to 105%.
So fitted to the ambifacient lunar wane shaft that side fumbling was effectively prevented.
I know enough to know that running anything at 105% isn't a good idea. And the way this guy says,
They're waiting for you, Gordon, in the test chamber.
like, am I being set up here?
I don't know how you can say that, although I will admit that the possibility of a resonance cascade scenario is extremely unlikely.
Gordon doesn't need to hear all this. He's a highly trained professional.
Am I the only one that sees all these red flags? Like, what the fuck is going on in this place? I guess I'm just along for the ride. Huh, imagine my surprise when shit starts going sideways. Unforeseen consequences. Give me a break. After the intro, this seems pretty intense. You come to and the place is falling apart, alarms blaring, there's dead bodies all over the place. Aliens start teleporting in, and you gotta run for it, seeing as you don't have a weapon yet. A couple of scientists tell you to head to the surface for help, which is great, a little bit of direction. Except, I can't open any of the doors. One of the more annoying aspects of Half-Life is needing NPCs to open the doors for you. It's overall not that bad. It's used less often as you progress through the game, and there was even a couple of times where I forgot that it was an option. Work your way back through the facility, dodging explosions, lasers, grab the crowbar. It's a pretty decent melee weapon, probably my favorite thing for dealing with the head crabs. It's also got this neat little feature when you slap a carcass with it. The head crabs are a complete pain in the ass. They're easy to kill, but there's usually more than one of them, and they tend to be in the tight, dark areas. They move pretty slow at a distance, but lunge at you at close range, so it can be a bitch to kill them. The next enemy I came across was the zombie. Also slow moving, and they telegraph their attacks, so it's pretty easy to avoid getting hit, mostly. Grab a pistol off this dead Barney, and it's pretty decent. Takes down the zombie and head crabs in a couple of shots. It's got a secondary fire that fires faster, but the accuracy goes right out the window. And the auto aim in this game is garbage, so that's getting turned off. Health comes from first aid kits or wall stations. The health kits will give you 15 points, and the wall stations will give you 40. Thankfully, the wall stations are everywhere in the early game, which is a good thing because it took me a while to get the hang of things. The scientists will pump you full of some green liquid, and it tops up the health a bit, but I don't know what triggers this, because it only really started happening for me late in the game. The Hound Eye is the next enemy I ran into, and there's usually a few of them in the same area. They make this high-pitched chirping sound, and its attack is some sort of shockwave. It takes a bit for the attack to charge, so there's plenty of time to kill them or find cover. The Vortigaunt is up next. It's probably the most common alien enemy. It'll attack with some green lightning, which does a bit of damage if it connects, and they also have a melee attack if you get in close enough. Every once in a while they'll flee when injured, but we'll come back to the fight after a short while. A ton of enemies so far, and only a couple of basic weapons. This is kind of the first introduction of valve puzzles. Close the valve to raise the water level so you can get back out of the tunnels. Pull this lever to start the lift, hop on and go for a ride. The first time I went down here there was only 2 head crabs, but I died when I decided to jump into the water. The next time around it was just an endless swarm of them. Fuck! There's a bit of platforming in Half-Life, sometimes needed to progress, sometimes to get into the secrets. They're not really secrets, mostly just areas with limited access. None of it is too difficult until much later in the game. The next new enemies show up in Chapter 3. The bull squid, it spits some green shit at you. I say green shit a lot in these videos, don't I? I don't think I ever got close enough to find out if they have a melee attack. They're fairly common, and they do attack the head crabs, which is awesome because it's less for me to deal with. The other enemy of Chapter 3 is the barnacle. They're stuck to the ceiling and they pick up prey with their tongue. I don't think I got grabbed by one again in this playthrough. Crouch jumping is something I needed to use a lot in Half-Life, whether it's getting through broken windows or into small pipes. The HEV suit has a built-in flashlight, but it's kind of shit. It doesn't flood the area with light, it only lights up what you're looking at, so you kind of have to scan around to use it. And let me introduce to you my nemesis in this playthrough. The fans. I shit you not, I died more from the environment than I did from the enemies in this game. You can move some of the objects around the environment by pushing them or pressing the use key to pull them. It's good for getting into those secrets, but it's not exactly perfect. The crates can't be pushed through dead enemies, and sometimes when you grab a box, it just rips across the room. Sometimes the volume level is a bit janky in this game as well. It'll get really loud for no reason, an echo will pop up, or it'll just stop working depending on which direction you're looking.
What the hell is this?
Finally, another weapon, the shotgun. It's okay. It packs a pretty good punch, but it's a bit inconsistent. The secondary fire shoots 2 shells, which is pretty good against some of the tougher enemies. You can also get Barney to come along. I saw him take out a few head crabs and figured, sweet, I hate dealing with these things. And it ended up being a bad idea. He just ended up filling my ass with lead.
That'll look nice in my trophy room.
Yeah, I bet I would, you fucking dink. We've got hostiles.
For God's sake, open the silo door! They're coming for us! It's our only way out! Oh my God, we're doomed!
In this chapter, you find out the military is not there to help the science team out. Instead, they're here to purge the place. The soldiers come in a few different flavors, but for the most part, they're just rocking the M16 and they pitch hand grenades at you. At least I get my hands on the M16 here, and it's got a grenade launcher as a secondary. I also found the hand grenade somewhere, and I don't remember where, but they're handy in a lot of situations. What's this guy's story? I've seen him a few times now, and he always leaves as I enter the area. Finally getting up to the surface, and there's a shitload of soldiers and a gunship to fight through. I don't have the means to take out the gunship yet, so I just gotta run past it to safety. The ladders in this game are also not good. Make things tricky. Into the blast pit. Well, after I figure out how to get through this barricade. Getting down to the pit is actually pretty cool. First, you got to take this lift deeper into the facility. Then you take this little rail car to get through the tunnel a bit quicker. Then there's a bunch of platforming over a lake of toxic waste. Finally, I worked my way into the blast pit, and it took me a while to get past this part. I could not figure out what to do here. In fact, the whole section where you have to turn on the power and the fuel took me forever to get through. Trying to get through the fuel and oxygen gave me a hard time because I didn't understand I could just destroy the grate. Probably should have done the hazard course. I spent quite a while looking around for a switch that doesn't exist. So I headed for the power instead, and this was much easier for my dumb ass to understand. Well, kind of. Get to this area where you have to fire up the reactor, and of course you have to deal with the janky ladders while climbing over a death trap. I was kind of hoping I'd get to cook this guy here, but no, like, where's the fun in that? Fuck. After I got the power on, I spent a good 20 minutes and I don't know how many deaths trying to get past this thing in the pit again. Then I tried my luck at the fuel again. Down the ladder through some tunnels and into this giant ventilation shaft. And this is where I ran into some more issues. A giant fan with a bunch of wood at the top of the shaft. And I thought this one was pretty self-explanatory, but I was wrong. Turn on the fan and okay, just get back up the ladder and god damn it. Okay, now I should just jump out here and float on up. And fuck me. I ended up having to reload a previous save and try this all over again. Fuel and oxygen are on, now it's time to go cook this thing. This whole chapter took me well over an hour to get through. And where'd Barney go? That poor bastard. Down the hole, and this is where I found the Magnum. Puts down the most common enemies with a single well-placed shot. The next part took me a little bit to figure out. I thought maybe I had to go for a little swim. This one reminds me a lot of Toxic Refinery from Duke 3D, except more toxic waste and less claw machine action. I finally figured out that I was supposed to take the pipes through here. Some of this must be painful for you guys to watch. Right around here I found the trip mines for the first time, probably because I forgot you could destroy the crates. I only really used them once, and we'll get to that in a bit. On to power up, and it's this fucking guy again. Watching a couple soldiers do battles with this big alien. I fight my way through a bunch of aliens and some soldiers, and what the fuck? Come on, hit him. The pump is jammed up here, so I travel through this water to clear it up, but there's these creepy little worm things. And even weirder is you can't just push them out of the way. Turn on the power and head back up to where the big ass alien is hanging out. Lead it down this hall and let's try that again. You zap the big bitch, grab a rail car, and head out of there. On a rail is not great. I'm not going to go through everything here because the gameplay is very plain. But I ran into all sorts of cool janky shit in this chapter. There was more than a few times in this playthrough where I got stuck on objects or geometry. This one here, I was trying to get back on my little train and I got hung up. So to get around stuff like this, I was saving constantly. Next up is the turret control. Not that it's janky, but it is terrible. You've got these big armored plates for cover, and I don't move with the back of the turret. It kind of reminds me of Ace Ventura hanging out the window catching bullets with his teeth. Then there was this barricade across the tracks. Like, what the fuck is going on here? I could not for the life of me figure out how I was supposed to get up this staircase, so a little grenade jump did the trick. This sniper outside got me from his little hide, and I'm not even mad about it. It was actually pretty well done. But why is everything so green? On to my favorite part of this chapter, and I say that sarcastically, but it was still kind of funny. Looking back over the recording, I might have been able to use the crates. I tried at the time, but I couldn't figure it out. Launch the rockets and head back out of here. For fuck's sakes. Apprehension. Finally off this goddamn train. Jesus Christ. The first little bit of this one with the underwater sections confused me quite a bit, but once I got through there, it was into this room where you have to fight this giant fish, and it's pretty annoying. And the wet floors have some shitty ice physics for some reason. Then this guy tells me I've got to be the guinea pig yet again and see if this trank gun works on the fish. The crossbow is this game's sniper rifle, and it's actually pretty decent. It can fire underwater, which is very useful, but it takes forever to reload.
Freeman, right? I've got a message for you. Make sure you don't...
Whoops. These little black ops operators were such a pain in the ass to deal with. They're so fast and the weapons aren't really accurate enough to deal with them quickly. My solution? Explosions and a magnum revolver. This area is such a tease, all these crates full of goodies, only to get captured and lose all my weapons. I don't think this is right.
Where are we taking this Freeman guy? Topside for questioning. What the hell for? We got him. Let's kill him now.
This guy needs a raise. But instead of getting a bullet to the head, it's the Star Wars treatment. Residue processing might be one of my favorite chapters. I enjoy a good arsenal reset, and this area has some decent puzzles and platforming sections. I lied earlier when I said I didn't get grabbed by a barnacle again, but I didn't have much choice here because I really wanted that pistol. Some of the tanks have this super slick coating, so I can't just skirt around the edge because it just fires me right off. And there's something about this area with all of the conveyors that I just really enjoy. It's questionable ethics. As the name suggests, this is a testing facility. For me, this is where Half-Life went from a good game to great. I really like the balance of combat and puzzle solving here, and the pacing is just about perfect. And finally, a new enemy. Other than the Black Ops soldiers, there really hasn't been much for the last couple of hours. This place is crawling with soldiers. I came across these little bug grenades, and they are not my favorite. Alright.
It's a prototype.
For fuck's sakes. Another new weapon, turn on some lasers, lead a scientist through whatever the fuck this room is supposed to be, and get the hell out of this place. Surface tension. This area with the dam is so good. Getting shot at by a gunship while trying to figure out where to go, but I wasn't really fumbling around trying to figure out what to do. This area was designed in such a way that it kind of just seemed natural to climb this tower and then dive underwater. And the next section here where you're running from cover to cover while the chopper's making strafing runs was a ton of fun to get through. And to be honest, a lot of this part I just fluked my way through. The paths aren't the most obvious, but I didn't have a problem finding them. The cliffside also kind of sucked for me. Between the turret and the platforming and the ladders, it took me a few tries to get through here. But at least I finally get to take that chopper down. Nothing quite like getting stuck on the geometry. The aliens are now doing tactical insertions, which makes it seem like the military is losing the fight. The airfield took me way too long to figure out. God damn it. Between this building full of lasers, shooting down the aircraft, and getting Barney to open this door, this area took me around 45 minutes to get through. I did find the hive hand, and the primary fire on this thing is brutal. I hardly used this thing until the end of the game when I was really running low on ammo. There was also this part in the vents with a bunch of grenade bugs, and I bet you it took me 10 tries to get past this little nest. The airstrike sequence is pretty sweet. Using it to escape the area and killing this big monster was good. Not the most intuitive thing to use, but it worked. Forget About Freeman is pretty good. Lots of run and gun. The Black Ops soldiers show up again, and this is about the only time I use the trip mines in the game. I think the last few chapters are some of the weakest, but they're still not bad. Being on Zen was pretty cool, rampaging through the alien homeworld. I think the platforming is actually what ruined it for me. I died so many times that it felt like a real slog to get through. To be fair, if I had just gone through the hazard course, I would have known how to use the long jump module, and that would have made things easier. I mean, there's still some redeeming qualities, like fighting whatever the hell this thing's supposed to be, but again, the platforming really kicked my ass. I did really like the breeding facility. I thought it was tough, but a good way to round out the game before the final boss. Nihilith. Of the final bosses in the classic games I've been playing recently, this is by far the most challenging, and also the creepiest. It took me 45 minutes to wrap my head around this one. Getting teleported into these different areas was a real pain in the ass. I was pretty much tapped out of ammo for everything, so I ended up using the secondary fire on the hive hand, which actually isn't terrible. Once I figured out you can shoot the teleporter projectile, this thing got much easier. You guys would be ripping your hair out watching the full playthrough of this. I had no idea what I was doing. 30 minutes in, and I finally figured out its head will open up if you shoot it enough. This is like Doom 2 all over again. I'm taking it. Hey, it's this asshole again.
Gordon Freeman in the flesh. Or rather, in the hazard suit. I took the liberty of relieving you of your weapons. Most of them were government property. As for the suit, I think you've earned it. You've proved yourself a decisive man, so I don't expect you'll have any trouble deciding what to do. If you're interested, just step into the portal, and I will take that as a yes.
But my legs don't work. I have so many questions. What's the story behind the G-Man? Was the whole resonance cascade a setup? Is Gordon Freeman a plant? I mean, a 27-year-old skinny nerd who can use a whole arsenal of experimental weaponry, cutting through swaths of highly trained soldiers and an alien army? Something is not adding up here.